All right, welcome everyone. We're going to get started because there's another class that comes in here after we get done, and we need to get through. So welcome to our 9th annual Communication Alumni Panel. We're very happy to have you here so that you can hear from some of our distinguished alumni on what you can do with a communication degree. So, I have a group of alumni that represent varying years here, and they also represent a wide variety of career opportunities available to you if you graduate with a communication degree. So I'm going to hand the microphones down and let them each introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about their journey and what they have done with a communication degree since they graduated from Pikeville College or the University of Pikeville.
I get to be the first one. That's cool. My name is Jay Shepard. I work with Pike County Tourism here in the city. You can see us in the Hampton Inn, bottom floor. I also do freelance graphic design for board games. There's several great published games that I got to be blessed with the opportunity to do graphic design for, like The Walking Dead and a bunch of science fiction games and stuff. So I do that on the side as well. And I got a master's in communication from Moorhead, undergrad here at UPike. And if you have any questions, just let me know.
My name is Ty Compton. I graduated in 2011 from Pikeville College. I am the associate head men's basketball coach here currently, and have been in that title since I was an undergrad. I worked as an assistant coach while I was an undergrad here as well. So, been around for a long time. This makes my 11th year total on staff, and was able to meet my wife, Lisa, in the communication department as well.
My name is Lisa Compton. I am from the class of 2012. I was a UPike cheerleader and obviously a communication major. I currently work at Community Trust Bank as the marketing assistant and 55 Plus Club coordinator. So basically, I plan events and I do some advertising type things for our local bank. And I also just recently started teaching English to Chinese students via VIP Kid online.
My name is Marianne Fletcher. I graduated UPike in 2016. I am a reporter for WYMT TV. We are a CBS affiliate from Hazard, Kentucky. During my time at UPike, I did a study abroad trip where we went to Germany, and it was the best time of my life. I had an internship that these classes helped me obtain for WYMT, which helped me get my job in the future. And yeah, that's about it.
Hey, my name is Dalton Stevens, and I graduated from UPike in 2016. I'm currently the director of operations for a company called Hall Enterprises. We actually own and operate 3 different companies, and I do all that. So basically, the biggest thing that we do is social media marketing and like YouTube influencer marketing for companies in China and across the country. So yeah, whenever I was a college student here, I was a photographer, and that's kind of what led me into kind of doing YouTube stuff. And I worked for Enterprise for a little while as a I guess I was a manager for a little while for them, and also did, what else I do? Senior account specialist. So it's kind of a broad term for what I did, but yeah.
My name is Josh Little, graduated in 2015 from the University of Pikeville. Like Lisa, I was also a UPike cheerleader. Since leaving the university, I worked for the Appalachian News Express, which is a multi-weekly newspaper here, and I did that for 3 years, and now I'm the Director of Operations at the Southeast Kentucky Chamber of Commerce. And there, I plan the Patent Leadership Institute, I do some marketing and communications, and I do all of our event planning and things.
My name's Alicia Sykes. I graduated UPike in 2016. I now live in Lexington, and I am the assistant manager of a 480-unit apartment complex. Recently, I've been spending most of my time at our sister property, which is 232 units, so I kind of oversee over 700 apartments. I'm responsible for collecting rent as well as kind of evicting people as well if they don't pay rent. So if you guys have questions of transitioning out of college life and into apartment living once you do get a job and you have questions, you can let me know.
My name is Mona Branham, and I graduated UPike in 2016, and I am currently in my second year of law school in Grundy, Virginia. And at my time in UPike, I did an internship at the Kentucky State Capitol.
What did you learn in your classes here at UPike that has been most helpful for you?
Okay, I guess with law school, what I really learned from my communication classes is you get cold called on daily. So when the professor calls on you and you haven't done your reading, you have no idea what's going on, but you have something in front of you that your neighbor sent you, if you read it confidently, they never know you didn't do your reading. Communications, argument.
I think one thing that's helped me is I work with various ranges of people. So I can work with college students or I can work with very elderly people. So just knowing how to communicate with various ranges of people, age ranges of people, has kind of helped me know how to you have to get a feel for how to communicate with people and how to get a feel for their personalities and everything to know how to lease to someone and how to talk to them when they're in a bind with trying to collect rent from them and everything. So that's kind of helped me through all of my communication classes and everything.
So my journalism classes, my advanced journalism and then intro to journalism, definitely helped me in my job as a newspaper reporter. And also my design classes, working with InDesign. I do a lot of design now for our events and for the chamber, so those classes definitely helped me. And another thing is I also interned with Jay down there with Pike County Tourism, and that helped me break into the field drastically. So I would definitely advise you guys to look into internships.
During my time here, I actually took a class with a previous professor that's no longer with the university called Interpersonal Communication, and on a daily basis, I call people from all across the country and I negotiate deals. The main thing that we do in our office is we do brand sponsorships for YouTube. So if any of you guys watch, your favorite YouTubers and stuff, if they say this video was sponsored by SeatGeek or Dollar Shave Club or something like that, that's what I do. So I talk to the heads of marketing with those companies and negotiate those deals. So you have to be really good at knowing kind of how to dissect how people are thinking and be able to persuade them into giving you the deal that you want, not the deal that they want. So that way you can make more money on it. So that helped. And then Chandler, I can't think, what was the class that you taught? I can't think of the name of it. We had to do like a blog post. Was it mass media? Yeah, so we took that, and that was super helpful to be able to, look at how people interact on social media websites and things like that, because what we do here on a local level with a lot of companies in Eastern Kentucky is we actually do like Facebook advertising and Instagram advertising. So being able to see how people interacted on Facebook and kind of how those demographics worked, it helps me a lot with my job, and then in turn helping out companies around here broaden their reach to be able to get more business.
So kind of going off the same thing that Dalton talked about is interpersonal communication. A lot of times I talk to people on the worst day of their life or days following. So after a fatal car crash, or even, speaking of the day, I've been on scenes where there's a house fire and grandma is missing. You have to know how to talk to people because they don't know how to talk in that moment. So you have to know how to negotiate with people, you know, let them know that you are on their side and that you're not there to, I guess, be the big bad reporter that a lot of people think that most of us are. A lot of people, the one thing that they say about me after an interview is, thank you for making me feel so comfortable. Getting in front of a camera is usually never easy for someone, especially when talking about personal issues. So making them feel comfortable, talking to them before, you know, letting them know, hey, look, there's no restrictions, it's no big deal, we'll get through it. Things like that really, really help. Trying to think if there's any. I mean, obviously the journalism classes, those definitely helped me, and it also helped me get the internship that I had. I actually started out as a meteorologist, like I wanted to be a meteorologist. And Chandra was like, I don't know if that's for you, but I wasn't hearing it. So I took an internship, and I spent about a week in the weather center, and I said, you may have been right. And then I have not been back into the weather center since. So those internships are pretty vital to your future career.
So while I was in school, I learned a lot about myself in the in the public speaking classes. When I first started into my communication career, like I had no desire to speak in front of just even one person. That definitely not the type of person I was, and if you look back and think about me then and look at me now, like I'm a completely different person. So I really thank the public speaking classes a lot. I deal with a very diverse group of people, like some of these others. I deal with senior citizens in Eastern Kentucky, and I also deal with a lot of business people, and I also deal with all of the local football coaches. I plan the annual Pike County Bowl football games in conjunction with WYMT, so learning the interpersonal communications and things like that was a huge help in learning how to speak with different people and how to like control your tone and things like that. But one thing I didn't learn in class necessarily, but it was in class, was to work with other people. Like I look down this line of people, and I deal with almost all of these people on a daily. I work with WYMT for Pike County Bowl. I work with tourism for sponsorships. Obviously, I deal with the basketball team on a daily. And then I work with Josh on some events and things like that. So, I mean, that's one thing you really need to consider is look around in your classes, because the last person on earth you think you'll need, you may need them when in the future when your job depends on it. And that's something that you really need to consider for your life and for theirs, I guess, because you may be able to help them in some sort of way.
I think the thing that I learned the most from, or that's helped me the most, is just like most everybody else here, communication allowed me to open up more. I changed my major to communication in the last semester, or I guess last semester of my fourth year. And decided I was going to go from business. I was almost finished, went to communication. I had always been involved with sales, and my father owns his own company and is a salesman as well. So I guess communication has allowed me to kind of take what I was passionate about with sales, open up, be a little more comfortable in my communication to people, and that's in turn helped with recruiting, that helps with coaching, just communication daily with our staff, with our players, parents, you know, all of those kind of things. And you know, I think the biggest thing that I took from communication, maybe I didn't even necessarily take it while I was a student here, but it's become more important to me as we moved on, is just the listening factor of communication. Like, you know, everybody's talked about how they've got more comfortable talking to people and talking in front of people and those kinds of things, but it really helped me become a better listener. Just being open and realizing that like effective communication can't take place unless it's heard by somebody or unless it's interpreted appropriately by somebody, and that's a big, that's big in our role now. We do a lot of talking to those guys, but at the same time, we have to be willing to listen and able to listen. And you've got a lot of different issues from a lot of different people from a lot of different places, and you've got to be able to try your best to relate all those things and really interpret and not just listen to reply, but listen to learn and implement. So I think that's something that probably has benefited me the most in my professional career, is just the ability to not only be comfortable communicating, but also the listening to others' communication and trying to interpret that.
I'd say what I learned the most here would be discipline. It's my responsibility to make the deadline. It's my responsibility to know what I'm doing, know where I need to be. That's probably what I learned the most. I became, I guess I grew up here, become an adult, because a lot of times we assume it's the professor's responsibility for me to know what I'm doing, but really I need to be on top of everything. I need to go and do that research. I need to go and be the go-getter, and that's what I learned here more than anything is it nobody else's responsibility but my own to make sure I know what I'm doing. I'm making deadlines and that kind of thing. That's probably what I got the most. That, and I've learned quite a bit about research and how to write well, which was surprisingly useful in my career. Those things were also, I'm very appreciative of learning. So those are the things I've learned the most here, I would say.
What was your experience like when you did your internships? Like hardships, like what you learned, and also just like the biggest overall experience you got from it?
So I had an internship with a local nonprofit here in town, and I did not have the best experience that most of these other people had. I learned very, very early on that working for a small nonprofit is a lot harder than most people would think, and it's a lot harder when the staff is very small. I didn't have a great experience. It was a learning experience. So I mean, I did learn though that there are small things and large things that you have to do. Small things you do. I mean, I learned that you have to start from the bottom and literally work your way up. And so I was literally cleaning toilets. I was vacuuming floors, cleaning the windows. So I mean, I've done it all, and I've worked events for a local nonprofit as well for that internship, and it was an eye-opener more of anything. It definitely taught me that there's a lot that goes on with local nonprofits.
So I gave you my spiel about wanting to be a meteorologist and then that not really working out. But during my time there, after I figured out what I wanted to do, honestly, I am a hands-on learner. And in this career field, that's literally just what you have to do. You're kind of thrown to the sharks, like, hey, go get film of this, this crash, or hey, there might be a house fire up some holler that you've never been up, and you don't have cell phone service, so you're just going to have to kind of, good luck. But, it really taught me just little things that I could make mistakes on because, not a lot of the things that I shot made it to air because I was always usually with a reporter. So I could make these small issues, these small conflicts, I guess, and resolve them at the end of the day. It's not a big deal. I can carry it into my career and work them out there. So that really helped me, just all of the hands-on learning.
I actually did my internship with a lawyer, just a small local lawyer. He didn't work in a firm or anything like that. He was just kind of independent. And unlike Mona, I found out that I didn't want to be a lawyer. It didn't seem like it was going to be that fun of a job for me. And the biggest takeaway, as you've probably heard from most of these guys from your internship, you're either going to find the job that you love, or you're going to find the job that you definitely, I don't want to say hate, but you despise. Because like, I found out there was a lot of ins and outs in being a lawyer, and especially he did like criminal defense law. So, you know, he represented some interesting characters. So, you know, I just didn't want to be a part of that. And I mean, there's a lot of different types. If anybody in here is trying to be a lawyer, I'm not trying to like discourage you from being one. It's a great profession. But it just wasn't for me. Correct. I'm trying to, that's the roundabout way of getting to saying it wasn't for me. And that's the really important part of doing your internship. You're going to find out, hey, Marianne didn't want to be a meteorologist after she did her internship. You know, you're going to get that. So it's going to be a really good learning experience for you. And I recommend taking it very seriously, because if you put a lot into it, you'll get a lot out of it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Dalton. What you put into it is what you're going to get out. I was very blessed to have an internship that I really enjoyed with Pike County Tourism. It really solidified to me that I wanted to be in communications, and I wanted to work with people and do marketing. Jay was awesome in helping me. So yeah, I mean, and one thing that I've taken away from that in in both jobs that I've worked since leaving college was the connections that I've made. I've met so many people, and it started with working with tourism and just meeting all the local officials and business leaders and things. And now with the chamber, we have 500 businesses in our chamber. So, you know, just meeting people and making connections, I pretty much learn it from working with tourism. So.
I'm kind of like Lisa. I did not have the best internship, but I done my internship in Frankfort like Mona. Mine was with the Council for Post-Secondary Education. They stuck me in a corner office away from everybody else, and I've done flyers for their Facebook post. It was like daily post for them every day, and that was the task that they gave me for the whole however long we were there. But it did open my eyes to seeing what outside dorm life was. I'm from here in Pikeville, well, like 45 minutes from here, but I stayed here for college and had never ventured away from home. So going to Frankfort for that internship was the furthest I had ever been away from my family. So that was like a great experience, but my communication classes helped me in the roles that my internship did have for me. But we did have to take classes while we were there. We had 2 classes, so I learned a little bit about our government and things while we were there, but the internship overall wasn't the best. But I don't know if that's still an option, but I do recommend the Frankfort internship. It was a great experience otherwise, but the particular job I had was not the best.
I love when we talk about this together because mine was great in Frankfort. I worked with the House Republican leadership, and I absolutely loved mine. I'm interested in government, unfortunately. I filed papers. I had 2 committees I was assigned to, so I had to go to those daily meetings, and then I would take the notes that I had written and transcribe those into the system that all the representatives who weren't at the meeting would read. So that was probably my biggest job, because if I messed up, which I did one time, I sent an email to the Democrats about a secret meeting. But if I messed up, it was a really big mess up. And then that was my internship while I was in school. So we took a semester off. We weren't here for the spring of our final year. And in law school, I've done 2 externships. I don't get paid for those. It's free labor. For my internship, I was paid. My externships, I did one with Judge Darrell Mullins. He's no longer a judge here. And then I worked with the Pike County Prosecutor's Office. So I'm one of the people that persecute the criminal defendants, which is a lot less fun. So I file motions. I have to talk to people during interrogations. I go to hearings. I watched 2 jury trials this summer. Yeah, okay. I'm done.
I don't know what happened, but I don't think I did an internship. So maybe something changed, but she was only a year behind me, so I don't know what I did. But maybe I got credit because I was coaching, I was on staff. Maybe that was counted as my internship. But the thing I would say the most, probably, from what I was doing when I was in school coaching, is just that it set me up to try to do that as a career a little quicker, just because I was able to get some of those internship type things over with, before I was actually out of school and looking for that full-time job. I think an illusion, unfortunately, that you find quickly is that when you get your first full-time job or you're able to land a job of some sort, you think that you're going to be doing exactly what it is that you want to do with that company or in that position or whatever it is. And realistically, you rarely go into a company that's successful and start anywhere but the bottom, initially, entry level. And, if you're lucky enough to, be from this area or have a job or a company or a career in mind that is available to you in this area, the sooner you can get involved with that company or with a group that does that and get some of that internship stuff out of the way, get some of that entry-level stuff out of the way. It'll also allow you to see whether you like it or not, but more than anything is it will give you a better opportunity to move into a non-entry-level type situation when you finally are finished with school and able to get the full-time job. So I think that was beneficial for me. There was a lot of sacrifice coaching with just the hours and the time, and again, just simple things that laundry and film and those kinds of things that at the time we didn't have the size staff that we do now. It was really just one full-time assistant, myself, doing everything. And we were dating at the time, and there was a lot of sacrifice in terms of, from me and from her, of just my time. I didn't have very much time. And, luckily I was able to get that stuff out of the way my first couple of years and was able to move into a full-time job.
I've had several internships. I've had good ones, I've had bad ones. And one thing I would suggest that you really do is make sure that whatever internship you get, make sure you're getting something out of it, or it's a waste of time. Like, I've had some where I was just doing stuffing newspapers with inserts. That's not what I was going to do with my life. I wasn't understanding or learning anything about that role because a lot of these companies are looking for free labor or cheap labor, and they're willing to have you taking out trash and doing all this other stuff, 90% of the work, and then maybe they'll throw a bone to you every now and then. So you need to find an internship that is trying to teach you something about the role that you're considering going into. If you really care about your future, and if you're just trying to get graduated or whatever, a lot of people will put up with anything. But I was very adamant that whatever my internship was, it would teach me something useful. It would give me an idea of what this kind of job would be in the real world. But that's what I would suggest, because there's some good ones and some bad ones, and I would be a stickler about it if I were you. So that's all I got. Yep.
Hi, my question is, what is the special difference in books that you know from Chandra or Women's Communication?
Okay, so in the summer of 2010, maybe, I studied abroad in Costa Rica with Chandra, and it was a 3-week trip, and I had never been overseas, like I had never traveled that far or anything, and I had a very bad problem with falling asleep everywhere, anywhere, anytime I fell asleep. Like anytime I would be able to sit still for at least a minute, I was asleep. We had class with Chandra, and I was trying so hard to stay awake that I fell asleep with my eyes open. Chandra was poking me, and she said, "Lisa, can you please stay awake for class or get more sleep somewhere else?" So I slept the rest of the class.
So I honestly don't know where to even begin. Chandra and Rachel, I didn't have Leanne. Basically, second and third mothers. Anytime that I needed anything then and even now, I could literally call these ladies at any time and say, hey, can I come to your house and cry on your couch and just talk to you? Yeah, sure, why not? Like, I'll make food. Like, it's always been something like that. And that's something that I think that this university supplies students that many do not. You know, you're not just a number here, and you guys know that. You should know that by now. But these, you know, your professors can actually be your friends, and they can help you, I mean, honestly, grow up. I got so much advice, and honestly, it's completely priceless. Actually, it was very expensive to go here. It is not priceless. But I wouldn't give up the memories that I have, you know, between sitting in Rachel's office, or sitting at Chandra's house, or even on my study abroad. Not even going to get into all of that, but it was a really good time. But I mean, honestly, I would say that they were which still are, honestly, one of my best friends.
So, kind of going off what Marianne was saying, you guys have a really cool opportunity here where you're on such a small campus to be really close with your professors. I worked all throughout my entire college career, so whenever I came to class, I would usually go from like 8 to 3 most days, and then from 3 to 10 o'clock I was working. So there would be plenty of mornings when I would come into Chandra's office and sleep in her office because there was nowhere else to sleep, and I just had to fit it in between classes and things like that, and she was very kind to let me do that. And you know, I know a lot of you guys have professors and they're kind of hard on you, and you know, that sucks whenever it's happening, but you'll really appreciate it once you graduate, because the professors you guys have here, they're strictly looking out for your best interest. Like I mentioned earlier, I worked for Enterprise. I actually accepted a job in June of 2016 that required me to have a college degree in order to work for that company. In June of 2016, I didn't have a college degree. I was a couple hours behind, so I had to take college classes over the summer. And luckily enough, Leanne and Chandra both offered those college classes, and they were very helpful in making sure I obtained my degree in enough time. That way the company that I had to work for, that I required a degree for, didn't find out I didn't actually have a degree. So I graduated, and you know, that all ended up being a good story, but you know, like I said, just take time to appreciate your professors, because they do put a lot of hard work and a lot of time into your education and making sure that you guys are going to be successful in the future.
Some of my funnest memories were in Rachel's advanced public speaking class. It was insane. So me and my friend Jamie, we actually were partnered up together, and we did a reading of The Notebook, the movie The Notebook, together, and it was just, like, thinking back on that, it's so hilarious. I was kind of shy a little bit as back then, and then you couldn't be shy in that class. You just had to go for it. So those were funny times. But then, like they've all said, these professors are just great people and great friends, and they will help you any way they can. You can go to them and ask them, talk to them about anything. And I still will message Chandra and Rachel and just ask them about things. Sometimes not even to do with work or, you know, with my job, just because I know that they'll be there for me.
So throughout high school, I was part of a program called Upward Bound, and Rachel was part of that, and she was one of my mentors through that. So Rachel and I have bonded through that, and there are many memories through that that probably cannot be shared here, and so that's not going to be shared. But going through that with Rachel was awesome, and then once I found out she was one of our professors with communication, it was just amazing, and so it just made us even more comfortable. And then I had her for advanced public speaking, and I had a really, really bad habit of when I gave my speeches, I twirled my hair, and she deducted points off of my speeches every single time. And so I don't know how she finally broke me from doing it, but I think it was my final speech that she finally broke me from it and since that day when I give speeches, I don't do it anymore. So with Rachel and then with Chandra, it was just, I don't know, through all of our communication classes, you just grow to be comfortable and they break you out of being shy. I've always been shy and they just break you out of that shyness. And once you leave here, you just learn to never be shy and you can get up and just speak in front of anybody just because that's who they are and that's how they grow you to be.
So I guess I'm going to piggyback off of everybody else and say that it's really probably just the closeness. I've been to Chandra's house multiple times for Halloween parties and good food and tarot card readings, which I did not get done today. And so it's really just the closeness. And then all of our socials, we would have, get together, eat, drink, and be merry. So those were good memories. And then also just probably public speaking. And I had public speaking with Chandra and advanced public speaking with Rachel. I'm pretty sure. It's been a minute. And pretty much just talking, because that's one thing about lawyers, we like to talk. If you give me 5 minutes, I can talk about something. So.
I was in such a rush to get finished. It was over 50 hours the final summer and fall and spring for me to finish with my communication degree. So I was just taking so many hours. Lisa was really close with Chandra, and at the time, we had Basil Clark and Mary George were the other communications teachers that I had, and Chandra was really good about just, here's what you have to do it, turn it in, get it done, keep it moving. But like Mary George wasn't like that at all. And me and Mary George didn't get along well because of it. She was very free-spirited, very just different. And coming from business where it wasn't like that, it didn't make sense to me very much. So, the majority of that year was spent with me trying to fuss with her the entire time, it felt like. I don't know where she is now and what she does, but she is somebody I think about often because of that year, which it wasn't all negative. She was just very, very different.
I got a really funny story. When I was here, I think I was in the Bearfax class. Was that desktop publishing or something like that? I forget. Something like that, yeah. Anyway, Chandra allowed me to write an editorial with a controversial topic, which you don't see in academia anymore. You don't see it. And a lot of the times they want you to write about whatever is acceptable, but she opened it up and allowed us to kind of express our own opinions, which I appreciate. But what I learned from that situation was when you write an editorial about controversial topics and your opinions on it, you're going to have to be ready to defend them when people are angry at you. And I had a student get really, really angry with me, and of course, I wasn't ready for the actual backlash or anything. This was a great learning experience. But Chandra's like, if you're going to put it out there, then you got to be ready to receive the feedback from people who disagree with you. So it was a nice memory of me learning that I can't just share my opinions without first being ready to talk about them, to debate them, and to hear other points of view. I mean, the way you share your controversial opinions needs to be crafted in a careful way to open it up for discussion and that kind of thing. So it was a really neat learning experience that I remember. She gave me that opportunity to learn that lesson. I appreciate that.
I'd like the few of you who have studied after college, just comment a little bit on the difference between undergraduate work and what you do in graduate level.
Undergrad work was actually harder than graduate work for me. Undergrad work was, of course, you have to do everything from trigonometry and science and all this other stuff, so that was much more difficult. But in grad work, I did nothing but read and write for 2 years. It was the most grueling thing ever. You have to read a ton of research. You don't really share your own opinions a lot in your papers. You have to kind of cite everybody else's opinions and kind of piece them together. It's a very difficult thing in that area, but it's, I think I learned probably more in my undergrad than I did in my graduate work because it was just mainly doing research on theory and that kind of thing. So you need to really appreciate what you're getting here. You're getting a lot of different experiences that is valuable. So that was my experience with graduate work.
Okay, well, law school is nothing like undergrad, and if you treat it like undergrad, you will fail out. For those of you who might be interested in it, I'm telling you now. During intro week of law school, the 2003Ls told me that we would make the decision between showering, sleeping, studying, and eating, and we all kind of just laughed it off. It is almost November, and I have had 8 tests in roughly 3 weeks. I have finals in a month. I have 4 finals, and I make that decision almost daily between sleeping, eating, showering, and studying. Studying pretty much always wins. I keep a planner, a very detailed planner. I study from about 9 o'clock in the morning till midnight. Law school, I don't have a job. Law school is my job. I put 40 plus hours in weekly. I don't get weekends. I have been home. My family lives in Pikeville. I have been home this semester 4 times just to come and eat, and it was normally after tests to reward myself. It is very stressful, but if you can go through a graduate program, any graduate program, then you can pretty much do anything because they are meant to break you.